I wouldn't expect nor would I want you to invest in this training program without looking more into my background. Obviously, you'll not be able to get to really know me from this short video, so you should be able to get enough of an idea about my background and philosophical foundation that hopefully will cause you to trust that this training program, these series of courses, will do just what you want them to do. I was incredibly fortunate to have been raised in a very stable family. My parents have been married for 60 years, and I have a very close extended family. We were not wealthy, but we were solidly middle to upper middle class. I was raised with a growth mindset. Now, I didn't know that's what it was, but that's what I was raised with. That mindset would allow me to get back up every time I was knocked down. I went to the state university and graduated with a degree in economics. Unsure what I wanted to do, I decided military training would be invaluable. Coming from a family with numerous relatives who were Navy men, I tried to get into the Navy flight program. It was not meant to be. When I got word that I wasn't accepted into the flight program, I also got a book that would change the direction of my life. I got the brand new book, Unlimited Power, by Tony Robbins. I read it cover to cover. This was in the early fall of 1986. Now, in either late March or early April of 1987, I was on a plane bound for California, determined to meet Tony and learn more about this fascinating field called neuro-linguistic programming. Eventually, I went to the first night of Tony's 4-day event called Fear into Power, the Firewalk Experience, that was held in Los Angeles. Wow! I was more determined than ever to learn NLP. By the end of the summer of 1987, I was a certified practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming by Robbins Research International. I was determined to bring this back to my hometown, and I was going to teach everyone these incredible skills and way of thinking. Reality on the difficulties of building a business hit my naivety head on. While I was getting opportunities to work with and teach people, the money wasn't exactly what I dreamed it would be. I had to quickly go back to work at the company I worked for the previous year. That made trying to build a business even harder. In the spring of 1988, I decided I needed even further education. I went to Boston and went through an intensive training program with Dr. Wyatt Woodsmall. I became certified in advanced behavioral modeling. Now, armed with those skills and lots of great ideas, I was ready for success. Well, life isn't easy. By the fall of 1988, I was back working once again for the company I worked for the previous 2 winters, trying to pay the mounting bills I had accumulated. Over the next 2 years, I was never able to get my business anywhere even remotely close to the dreams I had set and goals I had established. What I did discover, though, was I was very good at and thoroughly enjoyed working with young people and athletes. I'd been an athlete myself and was still young enough that it wasn't quite as difficult building connections with the young athletes. The problem was it didn't pay great. Finally, I decided to heed the advice I'd been getting for many years, decided to get into education. My thinking originally was I would become a guidance counselor where I could use my NLP and advanced behavioral modeling training to work with students, while also being able to build a side business of coaching and training. I applied to a program at the local university to become a guidance counselor. I wasn't accepted. I reapplied for the next year to become a teacher. I wasn't accepted. But one of the professors in one of the several interview panels was very interested in my background in NLP and advanced behavioral modeling. She reached out to me to see if I would be interested in becoming part of a brand new teacher training program they were starting, which would be based in a middle school. The 12 students they accepted would be based in a middle school for the entire school year, and our university courses would be taught in the evening at that middle school. And I said yes. After graduating from that program, I was licensed to teach. That summer, I found a summer job as an assistant recreation director at a residential school for students with severe emotional and behavioral challenges. Many of those students were there under court orders. I also continued to work on my coaching business. By that fall, I had not found a teaching job, so I substitute taught, coached all 3 sports seasons, and continued to do private coaching. The next summer, I was back at that same school working as assistant recreation director and still hustling any coaching I could. During the summer, I had a spiritual experience that had a significant impact on my life. While I had been raised in a Christian home, I had turned away from the religion as it just didn't seem to be based on any reasonable evidence or truth. I had turned my back to the religion as I was challenged to investigate the truth claims, and I found that my naturalistic beliefs didn't really match their truth claims. Yet I was still not fully congruent between my actions and my rediscovered Christian beliefs. Toward the end of the summer of 1992, I was not making the kind of money I wanted to make. The relationship with a woman I had hoped would develop into more than the platonic relationship it had become was going nowhere. And I saw the goals I had set not being close to attainment. I found myself on my knees praying to God, just saying, "Okay, Lord, whatever you want from me, I'm ready. I turn everything over to you." At this point, it was late August, and I was expecting I would be going back to substitute teaching, coaching, and any personal coaching I could scrape up. I was 29 years old and struggling and nowhere near where I had envisioned being at this point in my life. In the middle of the afternoon on the last day of my summer job, literally only about an hour or 2 from the end, the headmaster of the school approached me and said, "You're a certified social studies teacher, aren't you?" "Yes." "Do you have a job?" "No." "Would you like one?" "Yeah." I was hired on the spot to teach social studies at this school for students with severe behavioral challenges. The students were in therapeutic settings doing lots of work during the day, so their schooling was at night. That would leave me the days to continue coaching and pursuing other interests, or so I thought at that moment. Well, when I arrived at home that afternoon, I had a phone message from the school district of the city in which I had done most of my substitute teaching. They were asking if I'd be interested in interviewing for a job as an education technician. I hadn't applied for any job in that district, nor had I substitute taught at that specific school. It was a day treatment program for students with serious emotional and behavioral challenges that prevented them from attending regular schools. The next day I called and said I would be interested. I interviewed. I was hired. It would also be where I met my wife. I suddenly found myself working about 62 hours a week, not including another 10 to 12 hours grading papers and planning lessons with students who had serious behavioral issues. My career was launched. 2 years later, I became certified as a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming, a master timeline therapy practitioner, and master hypnotherapist by Dr. Tad James. I went on to earn my master's degree in special education with a focus on behavior. I have attended numerous workshops and other trainings over the years and read countless books. In short, I not only acquired a great deal of knowledge and skills, but I put that use training mindsets of some of the most challenging clients you can think of. Middle school students who weren't seeking change. While I'd been a teacher for nearly 3 decades, it was not just academics I had to teach. I had to learn how to develop an academic program and curriculum that could help these students change their behavior while teaching them English and social studies and science and math, which I've taught in varying degrees over those decades. I had to train their mindset. For the first 12 years of my career, I worked with students whose behavior was much more aggressive and who had lots of anger management issues. The final 8 of those years was running a program I had designed from scratch. I was quite successful, as the unsolicited letters from parents and students would attest to. For the past 16 years, the behaviors were much different, with far more anxiety and depressive type behaviors. But the mindset issues weren't much different. The approach was a bit different, but the foundational principles that are responsible for the success were no different. This was a program that was designed in principle when they hired me to begin running it. Over the past 16 years, it has changed and improved. Again, I've been very successful. Over this time, my success has also included some private work with individuals and even athletic teams. It included work with regular individuals seeking breakthroughs in their life, as well as primarily individual high school and college athletes and teams. All the while, I've kept on the back burner my dreams for creating an academy that would teach and train people in the skills necessary for success and contentment. That dream is now a reality. Through all these years, I've learned there's no shortcut when it comes to training. Well, there are techniques and tools that can make the work quicker and easier, but training does take time. Time is dependent on individual factors. I can promise you that these courses, this training program, when implemented, works for the vast majority of people. For those it doesn't work for, there are always deeper underlying issues at play that require more direct intervention. That I offer too, but it is quite possible that the issues require more of a therapeutic intervention than what I currently do. I hope you will trust and respect yourself enough to know that you are listening to these words not by accident. You are seeking, therefore you know things can be better. I believe that my whole career has been built on this underlying mission. Love God, love people, serve people, and change lives. This has led to my business success in this newest venture. I've been training mindsets and training champions for nearly 30 years. Most of my work has been with middle school-age students who weren't seeking change. Imagine how much more likely you can train your mindset simply because you are seeking. Now all you need is to do.